Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in once again to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV presents Beyond the Realm. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Be sure to click the notification bell and click the word all so that you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Also, if you have not been receiving your notifications, please check and make sure that you are still subscribed to the channel. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at QueenAshAkur. Also on Instagram at divine_goddess_27. On Twitter at dgoddess27. Patreon in Brighton at QueenAshAkur. Okay, so let's get into it, people. This is the true story of an Indiana family who were supposedly possessed by demons, and they had to have an exorcism performed. A woman and 3 children, they all claimed to be possessed. Now, a woman and her 3 children claimed to be possessed by demons. There was a 9-year-old boy who was walking backwards up a wall in the presence of a family case manager and a hospital nurse. Gary Police Captain Charles Austin said it was the strangest story that he'd ever heard. Austin, a 36-year veteran of the Gary Police Department, said he initially thought Indianapolis resident Latoya Ammons and her family concocted the elaborate story to make money. But after several visits to their home and interviews with witnesses, Austin said simply, "I am a believer." Not everyone involved with the family was inclined to believe its incredible story, and many readers will find Ammons' supernatural claims impossible to accept. But whatever the cause of the creepy occurrences that befell the family, whether they were seized by a systemic delusion or demonic possession, it led to one of the most unusual cases ever handled by the Department of Child Services. Many of the events are detailed in nearly an 800 pages of official records that were obtained by the Indianapolis Star and recounted in more than a dozen interviews with police. DCS personnel, psychologists, family members, and a Catholic priest also were involved in the story. Ammons, who swears by her story, has been unusually open. While she spoke on condition her children not be interviewed or named, she signed releases letting the Star review medical, psychological, and official records that are not open to the public and not always flattering. Furthermore, the family story is made only more bizarre because it involves a DCS intervention, a string of psychological evaluations, a police investigation, and ultimately a series of exorcisms. It's a tale, they say, that started with flies. In November of 2011, Ammons' family moved into a rental house on Carolina Street in Gary, a quiet lane lined with small one-story homes. Big black flies suddenly swarmed their screened-in porch in December, despite the winter chill. They said, "This is not normal." This is what Ammons said. She said this to her mother, Rosa Campbell. "This isn't normal." And she remembers thinking, "We killed them and killed them and killed them, but they kept coming back." There were other strange happenings too. After midnight, Campbell and Ammons both said they occasionally heard the steady clump of footsteps climbing the basement stairs and the creak of the door opening between the basement and the kitchen, and yet no one was there. Even after they locked the door, the noise continued. Campbell said she awoke one night and saw a shadowy figure of a man pacing in the living room. She leaped out of the bed to investigate and found large wet footprints. On March 10th of 2012, Campbell said the house's family's unease became very clear, and they turned to fear instantly. It was about 2 a.m. Normally, Campbell, Ammons, and her children would have been asleep at this time, but they were mourning the death of a loved one and a group of friends. Now, Ammons, who was in Campbell's bedroom, startled everyone by screaming, "Mama, Mama!" Campbell said she ran into her bedroom, where she saw her then 12-year-old granddaughter and a friend. Where her then 12-year-old granddaughter and a friend were staying. Ammons and Campbell said the 12-year-old was levitating above the bed, unconscious. Now, can you imagine that? Levitating above the bed and unconscious? Clearly scary. Now, according to their accounts of the events, Ammons and several others surrounded the girl praying. Campbell said she remembers being terrified. She says, "I thought, what's going on? Why is this happening?" Eventually, Campbell said her granddaughter descended onto the bed. The girl woke up with no memory at all of what had happened. That's clearly crazy, people. Let's get the likes up. Everyone, please like and share the video. Please like and share the video. So she woke up and had completely no memory of what had occurred. Now, Campbell and Ammons said the people who were visiting that night refused to return. I can't say that I blame them. Campbell says she remembers telling her daughter, "We need help. We need to talk to someone who knows how to deal with it." Campbell and Ammons said they didn't know exactly what it was, but they believed it was something supernatural. They called local churches, but most refused to listen. Let me say something, people. As I'm reading this, if you see me stuttering or stammering, it's because the page is jumping. I don't know why, but the page is jumping on my computer screen. Pay attention. So they called local churches, but most refused to listen. Eventually, after listening to Campbell and Ammons talk about the house and visiting, officials at one church told them the Carolina Street house had spirits in it. They recommended the family clean the home with bleach and ammonia, then use oil to draw crosses on every door and every window. Everyone, please get the likes up. I'm going to like this again, please. Hold on a moment. I'm trying to, hold on, let me turn this fan around so it doesn't blow this out as I'm trying to light it. Okay, there we go. Now let me continue. So they called local churches, but most refused to listen. Eventually, after listening to Campbell and Ammons talk about the house and visiting it, officials at one church told them that they needed to clean the house with bleach and ammonia and then use oil to draw crosses on the doors, every door and window. Now, at the church's suggestion, Ammons said she poured olive oil on her 3 children's heads and feet, then smeared oil in the shape of crosses on their foreheads. I've done this to people before myself. Campbell and Ammons also told the Star they reached out to 2 clairvoyants who said the family's home was besieged by more than 200 demons. Their explanation made sense to Campbell and Ammons, they say, because it meshed with their Christian faith. The best thing you can do is move. This is what Ammons remembers the clairvoyants telling her. But moving isn't an option for the cash-strapped family, or it wasn't an option. Now, instead, Ammons said she took a clairvoyant's advice and made an altar in the basement. I'm sorry, but the basement would have been the last place in that house I'd have wanted to go. Ammons covered an end table with a white sheet, then placed a white candle and a statue of Mary, Joseph, and Jesus on it. She opened a Bible to Psalm 21. Now, that's a psalm of protection that I read almost every day. She said she and another person donned white T-shirts and wound white scarves around their heads. As also, on a clairvoyant's advice, they burned sage and sulfur throughout the house, starting upstairs and working their way down. The smoke was so thick they could hardly breathe. Ammons drew a cross with the smoke. The person she was with read Psalm 91. Hold on, people. Now, she said she and another person, hold on. Okay. Hold on, people. Get the likes up. Get the likes up. What are you all waiting on? I'm sorry. I'm talking to someone that's in here. Okay. So anyway, she read Psalms 91. She said she and another person donned the white t-shirts and the scarves because that was what the clairvoyant told them they should do. And as she began to read the psalm aloud, they moved throughout the house. She says, "You will not fear the terror by night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday." Ammons said nothing odd happened for 3 days. Then things took a turn for the worse. The family said demons possessed Ammons and her children, ages 7, 9, and 12. The kids' eyes bulged, evil smiles crossed their faces, and their voices deepened every time it happened. Campbell said the demons didn't affect her because she was born with protection from evil. She said she and others like her have a guardian who protects them. Ammons said she felt weak, lightheaded, and warm when she was possessed. Her body shook, and she said she felt out of control. You can't tell it's different, something supernatural. The youngest boy, then 7, sat in a closet talking to a boy that no one else could see. The other boy was describing what it felt like to be killed. Campbell said the 7-year-old once flew out of the room as if he'd been thrown. A headboard, and a headboard once smacked into Ammons' daughter, causing a wound that needed stitches. Now, the 12-year-old's wound. Hold on. I'm sorry, but this page is really jumping. Y'all think I'm joking? This thing is jumping all over the place. Somebody explain why. Okay, so the 12-year-old would later tell mental health professionals that she sometimes felt as if she were being choked and held down so she couldn't speak or move. She said she heard a voice say she'd never see her family again and wouldn't live another 20 minutes. Some nights were so bad the family slept at a hotel. Finally, in desperation, they went to their family physician, Dr. Jeffrey Oniku, on April the 19th of 2012. Ammons said she told him that what they were going through, hoping he might understand. Oniku told the Star it was bizarre. 20 years and I've never heard anything like that in my life, he said. I was scared myself when I walked into the room. He said he would not speak in more detail unless Ammons had psychiatric clearance for the waiver of confidentiality that she had signed. In his medical notes about the visit, Akinwu wrote delusions of ghosts in the home and hallucinations. He also wrote history of ghosts at the home and delusional. What Ammons and Campbell say happened next also was detailed in a DCS report by a family case manager's interviews with medical staff. Chaos erupted. Campbell said Ammons' son cursed Aquinu out in demonic voices, raging at him. Medical staff said the youngest boy was lifted and thrown into the wall with nobody touching him, according to a DCS report. The boy abruptly passed out and wouldn't come to. She cradled one boy in her arms. Ammons held the other. Someone from the doctor's office called 911. Akinwu said 7 or 8 police officers and multiple ambulances showed up. Everyone was, they couldn't figure out exactly what was going on, he recalled. Police and emergency personnel took the boy to Methodist Hospital to their campus in Gary. Ammons said hospital personnel laughed at her desire to anoint the sons with olive oil, so they thought it was a joke. She says, I couldn't talk to them, so I talked to God. The boys woke up in the hospital. The older boy, then 9, acted rationally, but the youngest screamed and thrashed. She said it took 5 men to hold him down. Meanwhile, someone called DCS and asked the agency to investigate Ammons for possible child abuse or neglect. The caller, who is not named in the DCS report, speculated that Ammons might have mental illness. The person believed the children were performing for Ammons and she was encouraging their behavior. Now, DCS family case manager Valerie Washington was asked to handle the initial investigation. She gave the following account to police in her intake officer's report, and this is what she had to say. Hospital personnel examined Ammons and her children and found them to be healthy and free of marks and bruises. A hospital psychiatrist evaluated Ammons and determined that she was of sound mind. Now, Washington interviewed the family in the hospital. While she spoke with Ammons, the 7-year-old boy started growling with his teeth showing. His eyes rolled back in his head. The boy locked his hands around his brother's throat and refused to let go until adults pried his hands open. Later that evening, Washington and registered nurse Willie Lee Walker brought the 2 boys into a small exam room for an interview. Campbell joined them. The 7-year-old stared into his brother's eyes and began to growl again. "It's time to die," the boy said in a deep, unnatural voice. "I will kill you." While the youngest boy spoke, the older brother started headbutting Campbell in the stomach. Campbell grabbed her grandson's hands and started praying. What happened next would rattle the witnesses, and to some, it would offer not only evidence, but proof of paranormal activity. According to Washington's original DCS reports and accounts corroborated by Walker, the nurse, the 9-year-old had a weird grin and walked backward up a wall to the ceiling. He then flipped over Campbell, landing on his feet. He never let go of his grandmother's hand. Say what now? He did all that and he was still holding his grandmother's hand? Okay. He walked up the wall, flipped over her, and stood there, Walker told the Star. There's no way he could have done that. Later, police asked Washington whether the boy had run up the wall as though performing an acrobatic trick. No, Washington told them. She said the boy glided backward on the floor, on the wall, and the ceiling, according to the police report. Washington did not respond to the Star's request for comments, but she told the police she was scared when it happened and ran out of the room. And as for Walker, Washington said, he ran out of the room with me. We didn't know what was going on. That was crazy. I was like, everybody gotta go. According to Washington's report, they told a doctor what happened. The doctor, who did not believe them, asked the boy to walk up the wall again. Walker said he told the doctor he doubted the boy could repeat the feats. This kid was not himself when he did that, Walker said. The boy said he didn't remember what happened and couldn't do it, according to Washington's report. Walker, who said he previously believed in demons and spirits, thought the boy's behavior had some demonic spirit to it, but also was the result of a mental illness. A police report quoted Washington saying she believed that there could be an evil influence affecting the family. Ammons said she spent the night at the hospital with her 7-year-old son, while Campbell took Ammons' daughter and older son to a relative's home in Gary. The next day was Ammons' youngest son's 8th birthday. Ammons said DCS officials asked Campbell to bring the older children back to the hospital, presumably to talk more about what happened. The family celebrated the boy's birthday by singing and eating a miniature cake. Then Ammons said Washington told them the children wouldn't be going home. DCS took the emergency step of taking custody of the children without a court order. All of the children were experiencing spiritual and emotional distress. Washington wrote this on the DCS form. Ammons told the Star she and the children cried because they didn't want to be separated. We'd already been through so much, and fought so hard for our lives, she recalled. It was obvious we were a team and we were beating it. Whatever it was, we were fighting it. We made it through together as a team, and they separated us. Now, the Reverend Michael Mingenot was leading Bible study in his living room the morning of April 20th, 2012, when he received a call from a hospital chaplain. Minot had been the priest at St. Stephen Martyr Parish in Maryville for more than 10 years, but had never received a request like this one. The chaplain asked him to perform an exorcism on Ammons' 9-year-old son. McNaught agreed to interview the family after Sunday Mass a few days later. The first step, he said, was ruling out natural causes for what Ammons and her family were experiencing. He visited Ammons and Campbell on the Carolina Street home, April the 22nd of 2012. For 2 hours, Ammons and Campbell detailed the phenomena to him. Then Campbell interrupted the interview to point out a flickering bathroom lights. The flickering stopped each time Manoah walked over to investigate, which he attributed to a demonic presence. It must be scared of me, he later told the Star, that he had thought that. The interview was interrupted again when Campbell pointed out Venetian blinds in the kitchen swinging, even though there was no air currents. Manoah said he also saw wet footprints throughout the living room. Ammons complained about having a headache. Manoah said that she convulsed when he placed the crucifix on her head. After a 4-hour interview, Manoah said he was convinced the family was being tormented by demons. He said he also believed there were ghosts. Ah! Oh my God! Why would you do? Oh my God! Why did he just sneak in here? Oh my God! Who does that? Oh my God. I am so through. Okay, let me get my heart back. Queen, he scared you red. Yes. Why would he walk in here? That was my son, just so you all know. Creeping in here. I guess he was tiptoeing because he didn't want to interrupt my live. And he's dressed in all black, and all I saw from the side was a shadowy figure. Oh, clearly. I turned my head and you did that. Oh my goodness. That was crazy. Whew, okay. Let me get back together, people. Okay. I have clearly lost my place. Okay. So, Ammons complained about having a headache. Manoah said she convulsed when he placed a crucifix against her head. And after a 4-hour interview, Manoah said he was convinced the family was being tormented by demons. He said he also believed there were ghosts in the house. Manoah blessed the house before he left, praying, reading the Bible, and sprinkling holy water in each room. He told Ammons and Campbell to leave the house, but it wasn't safe. They temporarily moved in with a relative. But less than a week later, the two women were back on Carolina Street to let Washington, the DCS family case manager, check the condition of the home. Washington asked the Lake County police officer to come with her. 2 other officers, one each from Gary and Hammond police departments, asked to join them out of professional curiosity. Whew, I'm still shook, okay? Now, the main floor had 3 bedrooms, a living room, 1 bathroom, hardwood floors, and a small open-style kitchen. A door in the kitchen led to a basement with concrete floors. Directly under the stairs was a dirt floor. The concrete around it was jagged, as though it had been broken. The makeshift altar Ammons had created was still in place, along with rings of salt she had poured against the basement walls to dissuade the demons, according to a Hammond Police Department reports. Now, Campbell told officers that demons seemed to emanate from beneath the stairs. Austin, the Gary police captain, was one of those officers. He told the Star he believed in ghosts and the supernatural, but said he didn't believe in demons. Austin said he changed his mind after visiting the Carolina Street house. During the interview with Campbell, one of the other officers, their audio recorders malfunctioned, according to Austin and Hammond's police records. The power light flashed to indicate the batteries were dying, even though the officer had placed fresh batteries in the recorder just earlier that day. Another officer recorded audio, and when he played it back later, heard an unknown voice whisper, "Hey," according to Lake County police reports. That officer also took photos of the house. In one photo of the basement stairs, there was a cloudy white image in the upper right-hand corner. When an officer enlarged the photo, that cloud appeared to resemble a face. Lake County police records indicate this. Now, the enlargement also revealed a second green image that police say looked like a female. Austin says photos he snapped with his iPhone also seemed to have strange silhouettes in them. The radio in his police-issued Ford malfunctioned on the way home. Later, Austin said the garage at his Gary home refused to open. So these demons done followed him home. That's clearly what happened. He said his garage at his home refused to open. Radio malfunctioned on the way home in the car. All crazy. And even though the power was on everywhere else, the garage just wouldn't open. Austin said the driver's seat in his personal 2005 Infiniti also started moving backward and forward on its own. He said he had the car checked at a dealership, and the mechanic told him the motor on the driver's seat was broken, which the mechanic said could have caused a distraction leading to an accident. Clearly, somebody was trying to kill him or something. Austin said he found himself starting to believe Ammons' claims of paranormal activity, but the mental health professionals evaluating Ammons' case and her children remained skeptical. Now, in April of 2012, DCS petitioned Lake Juvenile Court for temporary wardship of the 3 children, and the request was granted. DCS found that Ammons neglected her children's education by not having them in school regularly. The agency made the same findings in 2009, according to records. Ammons told Washington there were times that she could not send the kids to school because the spirits would make them sick, or they would be up all night without sleep. Sleep deprivation. That's what demons definitely cause, sleep deprivation, because it breaks you down mentally, physically, and spiritually. DCS temporarily placed her daughter and older son at St. Joseph's Carmelites home in East Chicago. Ammons' youngest son was sent to Christian Haven in Wheatfield for a psychiatric evaluation. Now, clinical psychologist Stacy Wright, who evaluated Ammons' youngest son, said the boy tended to act possessed when he was challenged, challenged, or asked questions that he didn't want to answer. In her evaluation, she wrote that he seemed coherent and logical, except when he talked about demons. It was then that the 8-year-old's stories became bizarre, fragmented, and illogical. His stories changed each time he told them, by the way. He also changed the subject, quizzing Wright on math problems and asking her about outer space. Can you imagine? He said, "Can you die if you go to space? How do you get to space? Do you have to wear a helmet and a suit?" Wright believed the 8-year-old did not suffer from a true psychotic disorder. She said, "This appears to be an unfortunate and sad case of a child who has been induced into a delusional system perpetuated by his mother and potentially reinforced by other relatives," she wrote in her psychological evaluation. Clinical psychologist Joel Schwartz, who evaluated Ammons' daughter and older son, came to a similar conclusion. He says, there also appears to be a need to assess the extent to which Ammons' daughter may have been unduly influenced by her mother's concerns that the family was exposed to paranormal occurrences. Now, Ammons' daughter told Schwartz that she saw shadowy figures in the Carolina Street home. She also said she twice went into trances. Ammons' older son told Schwartz that doors would slam and stuff started moving around. Ammons was examined several times by psychologists who said she was guarded but did not seem to be experiencing any type of psychosis or thought disorders. One psychologist recommended Ammons be assessed to determine whether her religiosity may be masking underlying delusional ideations or perceptual disturbances. Ammons and all three kids continued to insist they were possessed by demons. Now, DCS set goals for the family. One of them stipulated that the children not discuss demons and being possessed and take responsibility for their actions. They also needed to participate in therapy to address past behavior. DCS officials credited Ammons for sharing a close bond with her children. The agency also said she needed to use alternate forms of discipline, not directly related to religion and demon possession, according to DCS, their case plan. Now, appropriate discipline included encouragement, rules, and withholding privileges. She could work on those goals during supervised visits with the children. Ammons also had to find a job and appropriate housing due to the paranormal activity at the house on Carolina Street. Now, while Ammons worked on meeting those objectives, police and DCS officials continued to investigate strange happenings in the house. The group was a bit larger this time. Campbell, Ammons, Austin, and two other police officers from the initial visit went back to the Carolina Street home on the afternoon of May the 10th, 2012. Now, the police officers visited after work hours. They were joined by Minot, two Lake County officers with a police dog, and DCS family case manager, Samantha Ilk. Now, Ilk, who was there in an official capacity, in an official capacity, told the Star she volunteered to go in Washington's place because Washington didn't want to go back to the house. That's the first case manager they had. Now, a county officer took his police dog around the home, but the dog didn't show any interest in any particular area, according to Lake County police records. Everyone else headed into the basement. Ilk touched some strange liquid that she saw dripping in the basement and said it felt slippery yet sticky between her fingers. Minot told police he wanted to check the dirt under the stairs for a pentagram or personal objects that might have been cursed. He said a pentagram might indicate a demonic presence and possible portal to hell, according to the Lake County Police report. Or if someone had died in the house and was buried under the stairs, it would explain the paranormal activity he felt. Now, one of the police officers dug a 4 foot by 3 foot hole underneath the stairs, unearthing a pink press-on fingernail, a white pair of panties, a political shirt pin, a lid for a small cooking pan, socks with the bottoms cut off below the ankles, candy wrappers, and a heavy metal object that looked like a weight for a drapery cord, according to police records. Now, they found nothing else, and the officer replaced the dirt and raked over it. Minot blessed the home with some salt, which he said is a barrier to evil, and spread it under the stairs and throughout the basements. Ilk said she was later standing in the living room with the rest of the group when her left pinky finger started to tingle and whiten. She complained it felt broken. Less than 10 minutes later, Ilk said she felt as if she was having a panic attack. She couldn't breathe, so she walked outside to wait for the group. When the priest started questioning Ammons inside the house, she complained of a headache and shoulder pain, according to police records. She joined Ilk outside. Austin said he left the house at nightfall. Austin, who has been shot and has investigated murders, rapes, and armed robberies during his more than 3-decade career in law enforcement, said he wasn't staying in the house past dark. Now, the other officers continued to walk through the home. On the main floor, they noticed an oil-like substance dripping from the Venetian blinds in the bedroom, but couldn't figure out where it was coming from. To make sure Campbell or Ammons hadn't poured oil on the blinds, 2 of the officers used paper towels to clean it off. The officers sealed the room for 25 minutes and stood nearby so no one could walk in. Hold on, people. I'm still looking for my place. You know, this thing keeps jumping, as I told you. Hold on. Okay, so no one could walk in. When they went back inside, the oil had reappeared, according to police records. Minot told police that the liquid was a manifestation of a paranormal or demonic presence. He wrote a report detailing his findings and asked Bishop Dale Mezik's permission. Hold on, people. I'm telling you, this thing keeps moving. Hold on. This is so weird. He asked Bishop Dale Mezik's permission to perform an exorcism on Ammons. Minot said Mezik had never authorized an exorcism in 21 years as bishop of the diocese in Gary. Debbie Bosak, director of communications for the diocese, said she cannot comment on whether Mezik has ever approved an exorcism for confidentiality reasons. In general, she said, such an action would require a bishop's approval. Now, Mezik initially denied Minot's request to do a church-sanctioned exorcism. The bishop told Minot to contact other priests who have performed exorcisms. Minot said he needed other priests to give him the ritual for a minor exorcism, which does not require church approval. The priest he consulted told him to look it up on the internet. Okay, so he said he did an incense blessing on the Carolina home to expel bad spirits. That same day, Minot performed a minor exorcism on Ammons. The ritual consisted of prayers, statements, and appeals to cast out demons. 2 police officers and Ilk, the DCS family case manager, attended the ritual. Now, Ilk said she left believing that something was going on, although she wasn't going as far as to say it was demonic. She said she got chills during the nearly 2-hour rites. She says, we felt like someone was in the room with you, someone breathing down your neck. Ilk said she had a string of medical problems after visiting the home. A week after she visited the house for the last time, Ilk said she got 3rd-degree burns from a motorcycle. Within 30 days, she also broke 3 ribs jet skiing. She broke 3 ribs jet skiing, broke a hand when she hit a table, broken ankle running in flip-flops. She broke a lot of bones, and all this is after she visited that house. That is real crazy. That is real crazy, people. So anyway, hold on. I lost my place again. And everyone, please get the likes up. Please be sure to get the likes up. Okay. She says, I had friends who wouldn't talk to me because they believed that something had attached itself to me. This is what Ilk said. Her joking response was, I'm already evil. They tried to find something that's not evil and corrupt. They wouldn't waste their time with me. This is what she joked and said. Now, after the minor ritual, Minot told Ammons to look up the names of demons that were tormenting her. Each demon has a name and personality, Minot said. A name has power, and the priest added, and he planned to use the names to fight the demons during the exorcisms. Ammons said she and a friend looked up the demons' names online by searching for demons that represented the problems the family were having. The computer kept shutting down. She said she felt sick and lightheaded, but she said she found the names that fits. One such name was what I'm not going to do is say these demons' names, okay? That's what I'm not going to do. But she found the names, all right? She also found the names of demons that torture and hurt kids, which she felt explained what happened in the Carolina Street house. Ammons said other high-ranking demons also were assigned to her, including lieutenants and sergeants. After the minor rites, Minot said Bishop Mezik gave him permission to exorcise Ammons. The ritual is the same as the minor exorcism, but more powerful because it has the backing of the Catholic Church, Minot said. Minot ultimately performed 3 major exorcisms on Ammons, 2 in English and the last one in Latin in June of 2012 at his Maryville church. During each, Minot said He praised God and condemned the devil. He pressed the crucifix against Ammons' head as he spoke. He said, I cast you out, unclean spirit, along with every satanic power of the enemy, every scepter from hell, and all your fell companions, in the name of Jesus. Hold on, people. I accidentally did that myself. Accidentally pressed on something. Okay, so he says, hold on. Okay, said, I cast you out, all your failed companions, in the name of Jesus. Minot said his voice continued to get louder and more forceful until the demons weakened. He said he could tell how strong the demon was by how much Ammons convulsed. Two police officers who had kept in touch with Minot. Hold on. Okay, who had kept in touch with Minot since the home investigations, stood nearby in case Ammons needed to be restrained. Ammons said she prayed with Minot until it became too painful. She said she felt as if something inside her was trying to hold on and inflict pain at the same time. She said it was different from a natural pain, but felt as intense as giving birth. She said, I was hurting all over from the inside out. I'm trying to do my best and be strong. Eventually, Minot said, Ammons fell asleep. She said that was the demon's way of lessening the ritual's effects to make her go to sleep. In between the second and third exorcisms, Minot said he went on a retreat. A woman who assisted Minot with some of the exorcisms helped set up a backup plan in case Ammons had problems while Minot was gone. The woman wrote a long demon name. Minot said he can't remember which one it was, but wrote it on a piece of paper and tucked it in the envelope. Then she surrounded it with blessed salt. If Ammons had problems, the woman would burn the envelope, Minot said. By the time Ammons and her mother had moved to Indianapolis, by this time Ammons and her mother had moved to Indianapolis, but they drove back for the exorcisms and court hearings as her children were still in DCS care. Minot said he blessed the family's new home to prevent more problems, but Ammons called while Minot was on his retreat complaining of bad dreams, and so the woman burned the envelope. She saved the ashes to burn later in a church bonfire. After that, Ammons said her nightmares ended. In the final exorcism at the end of June 2012, Minot said she prayed and berated the demons in Latin rather than English. Said that he prayed and berated the demons in Latin rather than English. Police officers did not attend, so Minot said his brother stood guard. Minot said Ammons convulsed while he condemned the demons, but did not convulse during prayer. When she fell asleep, he said words of thanksgiving. It would be the last time Ammons saw Minot. She and her mother drove back to Indianapolis, where they say they now live without fear. Ammons' old home on Carolina Street became an object of local curiosity, so much so that the owner and landlord, Charles Reed, called the Gary Police Department to ask officers to stop driving by the house because it was scaring his new tenants. He said there were no problems in the home before or after Ammons and her family lived there. He says, I thought I'd heard it all, said Reed, who's been the landlord for 33 years. This was a new one for me. My belief system has a hard time jumping over that bridge. When told of the Catholic Church's involvement in the situation, however, Reed said that made him less skeptical. Ammons regained custody of her 3 children in November of 2012, about 6 months after they had been removed. DCS continued to check in on the children and make sure they were going to school until the case was closed last February. And that would be last February of when this article was written, which is 2012 or 13. Ammons called her children's return the happiest day of her life. She said they screamed and jumped up and down when she picked them up from the DCS office in Gary. It was just awesome. I hadn't been that happy in God knows how long. The children said they felt safe after they left the house on Carolina Street. The three left their demonic voices and complaints behind them. No demonic presences or spirits in the home. DCS family case manager Christina Olnick wrote in a team meeting in notes that were dated January the 10th of 2013. She did not return calls from the star seeking comments. They say the family is no longer fixated solely on religion to explain or cope with the children's behavior issues. This is what Olnick and her supervisor wrote in a request for a dismissal of wardship dated January the 24th of 2013. And for her part, Ammons said it was not the psychologist who resolved her problems, but God. She said, when you hear something like that, don't assume it's not real, because I lived it. I know it's real. Yes, it was recently, 2012. So that's clearly crazy, people. That's clearly crazy. And y'all want to know something even more crazy? Hello? The page that I was reading the article from that kept jumping, it stopped jumping when I got to the end. Go figure. How do you tell if someone's possessed? I know the Hollywood crap ain't real. So in real life, how do you tell? I mean, there's different ways. Like I said, they mimic the same symptoms as people with schizophrenia, talking in different voices, different personalities, rage, anger. But I mean, those are things that some people do on a natural basis. So possession, in my opinion, is if the person is actually speaking a foreign language that they've never studied, like Latin, Arabic, Hebrew, things like that. And it's usually going to be Arabic or Latin. They will be speaking that language, an old language, right? That they've never studied. That's one way to tell. So with that all being said, my washer is Whirlpool. Okay. Changing baritone of voice. Right. Sleep with the light on tonight, Queen. Okay. Page not moving. X-Files, says Otis. All right. Exactly. So with that all being said, egg smells and all. Armaic. Absolutely armaic. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so with that all being said, people, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. I hope you all got a good scare. All right. I certainly did when my son crept back in here dressed in all black. And I saw him from the corner of my eye, from my peripheral. That was clearly crazy. But anyway, on that note, I saw an orb fly behind you. Sure you did. But with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. Thank you all for tuning in once again to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV Presents Beyond the Realm. And, oh, let me remind my moderators. Hold on, people. Oh, Mahogany said we did. You all did. Hold on. Blackfoot says, me too, Queen. Lillian says, I know I did. I saw an orb fly behind you. Okay. That's clearly creepy. I'll have to watch it on the replay. But so listen, to my moderators, I want you to remember that I'm going to be going, not going live, that I'm going to have a meeting tomorrow at 12 o'clock, okay? 12 o'clock for the mods. I'm going to send you the invitations tonight. And also, I'm going to be going live on my friend BJ King's channel tomorrow. I'm going to be going on there. We're doing a live together at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Okay, so please be sure you tune in. I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. And please don't forget to follow me on Instagram at QueenAhmadiyyah, Instagram at divine_goddess_27, Twitter at dgoddess27, Patreon and Brighton at Queen Ahmadiyyah. And until next time, I will talk to you all again soon.